If your business tracks inventory or product and service items, capturing the invoice is only part of the process. Each invoice line also needs to be connected to the correct item in your accounting system. The challenge is that the item number, SKU, or description used by a vendor often does not match the item your business uses internally. Without that connection, it becomes difficult to maintain accurate inventory, assign costs to the right jobs, monitor vendor pricing, and understand whether the products or services you sell are profitable. Hi, my name is Sean, and I'm part of the platform support team here at MakersHub. In this video, we'll walk through how MakersHub connects the line item details extracted from your invoices to the correct items in NetSuite, QuickBooks, or any other accounting system you may use. We're going to look at this through the lens of a plumbing company located here in Austin, Texas. The company purchased thousands of different parts and materials, including pipes, fitting valves, fixtures, pumps, and water heaters. Each item needs to be tracked individually so the company knows exactly what it purchased, which job or location it was used for, and how much it contributed to the overall cost of that job. The challenge is that its vendors don't always use the same SKUs, descriptions, or item numbers that the company uses in its accounting system. Without a reliable way to connect the two, somebody has to manually review each invoice line and determine which internal item it belongs to before the bill can be accurately recorded. The company came to MakersHub to automate that matching process. Here, MakersHub's wise vision has already extracted the line item details from the invoice. The next step is connecting the vendor SKU to the correct item in the company's accounting system. And we're going to walk through 4 different ways MakersHub helped automate that process. We'll start with the simplest scenario. The SKU on the vendor's invoice matches the item number in QuickBooks. When MakersHub extracts a SKU from an invoice line, we recognize that line as an item and cross-reference the SKU against your company's item list. In this invoice from Pittsburgh Air, MakersHub found an exact match between the vendor SKU and an item in their ERP. Because these values match, a green check mark appears next to the SKU. When MakersHub does not recognize the SKU, a yellow shopping bag with a plus icon appears next to it. This tells you that the SKU has not yet been connected to an item. From here, you can manually select what the correct item is, or you can approve the bill and allow MakersHub to create an item based off of rules that you configure in integration mapping. So within integration mapping, I can create rules when I get a bill for Pittsburgh Air as to how it is I want this item to be created. For the sake of this example, I'm going to go ahead and assign these to the pump item that I have previously created. And just like that, this bill is ready to be approved and will push over to my ERP connected to these items. Now let's take a look at the second example. Manually selecting the item works, but I don't want to repeat this process every time this vendor uses the same SKU. I want MakersHub to remember that this SKU corresponds to the item name pump in my accounting system. And this is where integration mapping comes into play. Under the Items and Categories tab within Integration Mapping, I can create a rule that assigns an item based off of the information MakersHub extracts from the invoice. In this example, I'll create a rule that looks for a specific SKU and assign this to the pump item that I have within my QuickBooks. Now, when I click this Update Mapping, you'll see that MakersHub will automatically assign this and remember this training going forward. It's also important to call out that the rule does not have to rely only on the SKU. It could also reference the item description, the vendor name, or another extracted value that you can create as a condition. Once the rule is saved, MakersHub will remember this going forward and will automatically assign the SKU to the pump icon the next time it appears in an invoice. For our third example, let's get a little more technical. In this example, the vendor SKU contains 3 sections, all separated by dashes. The prefix and suffix are meaningful to that vendor, but our company only needs to know the value between those 2 dashes. We can train MakersHub to only extract the content that's located here in the middle. To do that, we'll go back to integration mapping and we can go navigate to the SKU tab. Under the SKU tab, we can create vendor-specific rules that modify the extracted value before MakersHub compares it with the item list. For this vendor, I'm going to use Twig to split the SKU each time it encounters a dash. And so we'll instruct MakersHub that this should happen based off of the vendor name so that when we find bills from Air Pittsburgh, we want it to perform this action. And so in this case, I'm going to use Twig coding and we're going to reference what value it is that we want to modify. So in this case, it is the SKU. And then we're going to instruct how it is that we want MakersHub to manipulate that. So here we're going to do split at the dash, and reference. So breaks it up into 3 pieces, and we're going to want the second piece, which is denoted by a 1. So there's 3 parts, 0, 1, and 2. In this case, we want the middle, which is 1. When I click Update Mapping, now MakersHub uses the middle section as the updated SKU. Once the value's been reformatted, MakersHub cross-references it against a list of the company's items, just like it did in our first example. We're not limited to removing parts of the SKU. We can also add to this formatting. So rather, should there be a prefix, we can also include that as well and add to these SKUs. Our last example is a vendor whose SKU and descriptions don't follow a reliable format. We take a look at this Belimo bill, we can see that the item and the description are all combined within the same description field. And so that makes it very difficult for us to go ahead and extract a SKU, but we can train MakersHub as to where it is that we should pull this SKU from. In this case, we can say anything up until the first space should be set as a SKU. And to do that, we'll go back within the SKU tab, and we will add a rule for the vendor name, if it's equal to Belimo Air Controls, and then tell it the action that we want it to perform. So in this case, this is SKU. So in this case, we'll slice this at the first space. And if we navigate back, you can see then that MakersHub has extracted all of the SKUs from here, cross-referenced it against QuickBooks, and then found a match. Through MakersHub, not only do we make it easy to extract the line items from each of your bills, but also make it easy to assign these to particular items it is that your business tracks and are useful, making it so much easier for you to stay on top of your expenses. If you have any questions or wonder if MakersHub can help with a particular scenario, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.